Hello and welcome to episode 33 of Creating a New World, the show about the 12 Visions world, a world of wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom. I'm your host, Bill Hunziker, and I want to welcome everyone who is viewing this episode. And I'd also like to welcome my co-hosts. First, Bob McCaffrey. Thank you for coming on the show, Bob.
Good morning, Bill, and I'm happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
And also, I'd like to welcome Harry Dolgen. Thank you for
Hi,
coming on the show, Harry.
hi, Bill. I just was trying to clear my throat. I'm happy
hmm
to be here. Hello, everybody in internet land.
Okay, and we'll start with the first segment of the show, which is the 12 Visions world. Um, and we'll start that off by reading the list of the 12 visions. You want to go ahead and do that, Harry?
Yeah, I'll be very happy. Okay, these are the 12 visions. Okay, Vision 1, become the person you were meant to be. Vision 2, live the life you were meant to live. Vision 3, feel extraordinary every day. Vision 4, slow down aging permanently. Vision 5, land the job of your dreams. Vision 6, build the business of your passions. Vision 7, experience the love of your life. Vision 8, have the body you always envied. Vision 9, become a genius of society. Vision 10, have everything you ever wanted via the free to soar geniuses and super technologies. Vision 11, ride a prosperity wave to riches via falling prices and soaring buying power. And Vision 12, enjoy nearly perfect health via soaring medical technologies and falling prices. Those are the 12 visions.
Thank you, Harry. The topic
My
today will
pleasure.
The topic today will be the transition from the world we live in today to the 12 Visions world. Um, Basically, this is just a matter of enough people wanting the 12 Visions world and being willing to, you know, to do what, what needs to be done to get into that world. So it's a matter of having a mindset that you want a world of freedom rather than a world of coercion that we live in today, and getting together with other people that want that world of freedom until we have enough people who want that they're in the majority and able to. But it doesn't require a majority of people to actively create the world. It just requires a majority of people to want that world and be able to support the people who are doing the things necessary to create that world. Um, Part of that would be a mindset of, we're all individuals, we're all unique, no one's any better than anyone else or any worse. Everyone has their own unique abilities and their own unique perspective, but also, we don't want the we need to get rid of the idea of groups of people, us for us and them, because it basically, we're all human beings, we're all conscious beings, um, and we're just all trying to live a creative life of prosperity and happiness, and not, not trying to do that by interfering with somebody else's life of prosperity and happiness. And we all have to have that mindset that, we want to do our own thing and not interfere with anyone else doing their thing. And once enough people have that mindset, then the 12 Visions world will come about naturally. We'll be able to overcome those people who think we should be divided into groups and it should be us and them, and we should get everything and nobody else should. Those are the ideas we need to get rid of in order to bring about the 12 Visions world. um, any comments on that?
I don't have anything at this point.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I think a lot what you said is really, really true. I think the problem we face is that the forces of nature, the stimulation that everybody goes through right now, which is stopping us from getting to the 12 visions world. So I think once everybody finds their Friday night essence and become the person they were meant to be and live the life they were meant to live, I think that stimulation will outrank any kind of forces of nature, and it's pretty much called the forces of Neil-think. But until
Hmm.
then, we have our work cut out for us. So that's why this show will help dispel all those problems that we have with the forces of nature.
Yeah, and
So you're doing a good
mhm,
job.
thank you. Also, part of the problem is nowadays people are indoctrinated either into a religion or
Mm.
and it's not two separate groups, they overlap, or into the idea that government is necessary and we need government to protect us and take care of us
Mm.
rather than taking responsibility for our lives individually and taking care of ourselves, and helping and taking care of the people we care about. um, the, the problem is in both cases, um, a lot of people are taught these ideas when they're too young to be able to you know to separate what's real from what's not real. And then when they become adults, they have all these assumptions that have been placed in their mind, all these ideas about government and religion, and that they've never questioned. And sometimes it's very difficult for people to actually go back and question those things that they learned when they were children. So part of this,
Absolutely.
yes, part of this, you know, part of helping people is help them overcome these ideas that have been placed in their mind when they were too young to you know to analyze them critically, and also to bring up our children as we have children and bring them up and help them have help them learn how to use their minds effectively, and not fill them with ideas, with ideas that are going to inhibit them and make them, vulnerable to coercion and control by people, you know, who crave that sort of thing. I mean, that's the basic problem with government, is that it's basically a matter of controlling people, as we see more and more every year. More and more laws are passed to say you can't do this, you have to do that, you know and that's never been the idea of our government. Was to keep government from doing that thing, but people have decided, no, no, we have to control people, otherwise we'll just have mass hysteria and people just doing whatever they want, including hurting other people and killing people. But that's not the case, I believe. The problem is people are just basically rebelling against coercion, and then there are some people who are basically not, who have mental mental problems that make them incapable of being, you know, of interacting well in society, uh, and those people need help. They don't need to be put in jail for the rest of their lives. They need help. Um, but the bottom line is you have to judge people by their behavior, not by assuming something based on what they look like or what they say. Or you can judge it by what they say to a lesser extent, but people lie also, so you can't really judge people on what they say. You have to judge people on what they do, ultimately. um, and but just
Yeah.
judging people because of their appearance is basically wasting your time and limiting your ability, limiting your resources.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. Yeah. I
um,
mean, it's very difficult. Uh, it might, in some cases, take a whole lifetime to deprogram people to make them feel that they're worthy, because the government. kind of promotes laziness in people. And I know for myself, it is very difficult for me to pull the trigger because I lack a lot of confidence, and I know what kind of direction I want to go into, for instance, real estate. But I don't. Sometimes I don't pull the trigger. I don't push myself to do things. I get back into the same laziness and don't want to do much to try to help myself get better. So it's a struggle for me. It's a struggle. I think NeoThink needs mechanisms to help people, out of the obstacles in their life. That's why your show is one of the things that helps.
Hmm. And
Talking about it.
and there are mechanisms in the literature to help you overcome, you know, what we as a broad category call mysticism, but mysticism can be broken down into lots of different things. The
Right.
definition of mysticism, of course, being laziness and dishonesty, and the hardest dishonesty to overcome is self-dishonesty,
Exactly
where
right.
you're deceiving yourself, um, where you're holding on to these ideas that have no relation to reality, and and acting accordingly rather than connecting with reality and therefore doing things that actually bring you prosperity and happiness.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like excuses,
Hmm.
rationalize the excuses. I do that all the time. Very difficult. Very, the first time in my life over the last year or so, NeoThink has helped me take personal responsibility, pretty much for where I am in my life and what I'm doing. And
Hmm.
it's very hard for people to take personal responsibilities for their life, and I was one that didn't,
Hmm.
and I am trying now. So, right, I think we got to get everybody out there trying to believe, make them believe that they're good enough to do what they want to do, and be self leaders and not follow. But it's a tough thing to do,
Hmm. and
right, Bob?
and
But
Do?
basically,
yeah.
if I could correct you, Harry, what you're doing is
Yep.
you're making a decision to do what you have to do. So you're not trying to do it, you're doing it. And that
Mm-hmm.
would help you along the way, I think, if you changed your outlook and your conversation about it and said, made the statement, I'm doing it instead of I'm trying to do it.
Yeah, yeah. That word "trying"
Yes.
is it's like a comfort zone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It doesn't allow me to move forward. I think you're right. You're right.
And it
Yeah.
is absolutely true that your thoughts and the way you think affect your actions and what you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
you limit yourself more than anybody else can by your
Yes.
yes, by your thoughts and your attitude.
We're our own worst enemies.
Yes, we are,
Yeah. Yeah.
and our own
Yeah.
worst critics, and and we are the ones that prevent us from doing things.
Right.
Other people may have some influence, but ultimately it's you that prevents you from doing what you want to do. And that's the kind of kind of thing we have to overcome to have the mindset to be creative and to create a life for ourselves that we want to live, rather than the life that our parents want us to live or that the government wants us to live. People in government want us to live, and we got to stop treating the government as a single entity. Government is a group of individuals who have this concept and idea that people need to be controlled, that people, that the only way to protect people is to force them to do or not do things, you
Mm.
know. And then, of course, we have religion, which is the concept that people are basically broken and nothing unless they accept God into their life, or Jesus, which is supposed to make them whole somehow.
Mm.
Whereas you don't need any of that. You don't need anything outside of yourself to become creative and productive and prosper and live happily. All you need is yourself. I mean, support from your friends and people you care about is helpful, but all you really need is yourself. All you need is to find that mindset that says, you know, whatever I think of, I'm going to do.
Mm.
And if it works, great. If it doesn't work, I'm going to find out why it didn't work and then do it again with the understanding of what I did the first time that made it not work, and continue to do that until you are prospering and creating and living the life you were meant to live.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
The only,
insane. Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
the only thing you have to keep in mind when you are making the plans for you to do what you want to do is you make sure that you are not interfering or harming anyone else in the process of
Absolutely.
doing it.
Good point. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, like I've been insane for many years. What's the definition? Doing the same thing the same way and getting the same results.
Right.
So
And
what you
expecting something different.
right. So what you said was right, Bill. Yeah, you really got to take action, I guess, and see whatever's not working for you, then change your strategy and try something else till it works, and don't give up.
Hmm.
I've been guilty of giving up, and so have most people, I think.
Yeah, the important part is honestly looking at the results of your actions and seeing if they fit with what you want. And also, I agree with you, Bob, 100%, because the idea is, if you think you can do things that harm others, other people will think the same thing about you. You're not everything you do can be done to you, and you have to keep that in mind.
Mm,
When you think about how am I going to achieve what I want to achieve? Well, I want to achieve it in a way that doesn't hurt others, because then they'll be inclined to hurt me in response. You know,
mm,
that's human nature.
mm.
Whereas if you achieve what you want to achieve in a way that helps others, that benefits others, then they'll be inclined to help you and benefit you.
Right. I've always it's always helped me even before Neothink.
Hmm.
I always kept in mind the statement, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto me."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, you gotta be conscious of what you do, what your actions are, and how they affect other people. Yeah. I mean, it's just common sense. You're not gonna go try to hurt somebody else. You can
Right.
do whatever you want
Yeah,
as long as it's not hurting them. It's common
hmm
sense, really.
yeah.
Right?
The way I would express it is connecting with reality, because in reality,
Yeah.
your actions have consequences. They
Right.
can have either negative consequences or positive consequences.
Yeah.
And if you honestly evaluate, the way people react around you and what happens after you try doing a certain thing, then you can alter your thoughts and ideas and behavior in a way that is going to bring you what you want. Because I mean, even if you do gain in the short term by hurting others, you're going to lose in the long term, because eventually people either are going to, I mean, we're talking about, with the 12 visions world, we're talking about what is basically a voluntary society.
Mm,
Basically everyone chooses to interact with other people.
mm,
That at its core,
yeah.
that's the basis of the 12 visions world. And if you act in such a way that makes people choose not to interact with you, eventually you're going to be completely isolated. I mean, the difference in today's world is that you're forced to interact with people in certain circumstances, whether you want to or not, you know. And in the 12 visions world, you're always going to have a choice on whether or not you want to interact with a certain individual. And individuals who act in such a way that harm others eventually are going to find themselves totally isolated, and
Uh-huh.
not and and there are going to be people who are going to want to continue to do what people do in the world we live in today, that harms others, and eventually they're going to be isolated, and they're going to have to go out on their own, because nobody's going to want to do business with them, nobody's going to want to trade with them, and they're going to have they're going to find themselves totally isolated. And this is one of the objections that I constantly get when I talk about this, is, but you got to help people. And my response is, no, you don't. You don't have to help people who constructively harm other people. and who continue to do so despite, you know, the fact that people say, no, I don't want anything to do with you anymore. You know, you don't have to help those people. I mean, you can reach out to them, but basically these people are going to be completely isolated from the society of individuals who want to prosper and live happily with each other. But there will be individuals who voluntarily help them by providing them with free food and so on and so forth, and that's their choice too, and they're free to do that. This is a world of freedom.
Yeah,
It's not a world of
we have the choice to decide who we want to help and how we want to help them. And I tend to choose it, and I look at it as I'm not really interested in helping people, because when you help people, you stagger their growth.
Yeah.
I'm more than willing, as we call, help people, but the way I look at it is I'm looking to give them a hand up. You know, if they're willing to do something and they're trying to do something to benefit themselves, and there's something that I can do that will give them a hand and make it a little bit easier to get to their goal, I would be happy to do that. But when people are just looking for you to do things for them, I totally resent that, and I kind of get standoffish, and I just don't want to be involved with it.
Yeah, it's a matter of whether or not it's a choice.
Yeah.
To me, that's the whole point. And when you talk about something like altruism, basically you're being told you have to do this whether you want to or not. You have to help people whether you want to or not. And to me, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not going to help anybody. I'm just saying I'm going to base how much effort I put into helping someone on their behavior, on whether or not they're actively harming other people and continuing to do so despite the fact that it will be pointed out to them you're harming people, you know. And this is basically the whole basis of the 12 Visions world is you know, you have a right to not associate with people who are harming you.
You ostracize them. You ostracize them.
Yeah, you can say, I don't want to associate with you, I don't want to trade with you, I don't want to do business with you, I don't want to have anything to do with you, and you know, and eventually someone, if they don't have some kind of, you know, psychological, if their brain is not so, you know, genetically poorly wired that they cannot grasp what is going on, eventually they're going to turn around and they're going to say, okay, I have to change my behavior because you know, this behavior is doing as much harm to me as it is to other people.
Well, we won't have that in the 12 Visions world.
You're breaking up, Harry.
Yep.
We'll have like they have in this AC world. Breaking up?
Yeah, you're breaking up. Give it a minute. Now you're better.
I just said in the 12 Visions world, we're not going to have the forces of nature stifling us. We're going to have a world of freedom, people doing what they love to do, and you know, there'll be no political power, no followers, no seeking attention, none of that. So it'll be a wonderful world, right?
Yeah, and I would just say that slightly differently, Harry. The forces of nature will always be there, but the forces of neothink, the draw of being creative and prospering from being creative will be such a greater draw on people's minds and everything than the forces of nature ever were. I mean, eating to excess, you know, or being promiscuous, all those things are, you know, basically, you know, I'm in a society where I'm forced to do things, so I'm going to rebel in a way that's going to hurt me, but this is the only way I can figure out to rebel against all, you know, being forced to do all these things. I mean, we're basically a lot of authors, you know, of fiction and everything have identified how people in general don't do well in captivity, and unfortunately, and it's true. People, we're we wanna do what we want. And the only thing is, and the problem is, in the society we live in today, we're constantly told you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this, even if it doesn't actively harm other people.
Yeah.
There are a lot of laws that are just, you can't take drugs, you can't be a sex worker, which is a valid choice if that's what someone wants to do with their body, as long as they have full knowledge of what they're doing and able to protect themselves and everything. All of these laws about morality,
Yeah.
as long as they aren't covering something where people are actively harming each other, are, this is basically suppression of the human spirit, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
but a lot of those women say they are doing it voluntarily.
Yes.
Offering sex for money, and we've had it ever since the beginning of time. So that's a stimulation we've always had.
Yeah, or dancing nude, or any of those things. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
The unfortunate thing is, in a lot of those people, over time, unknowingly are harming other people, and they're not aware of it in the beginning, and I'm sure they find out about it later, by passing on diseases.
that's the part I meant when I talked about being fully knowledgeable of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we live in a society where certain knowledge is suppressed. In certain states in the South, the only thing they teach in sex education class in school is just don't do it. They don't tell them why. They don't tell them the problems, the dangers. They just say, just don't do it. It's called abstinence training.
Yeah.
Just don't do it because it's wrong and God won't like it.
Oh yeah, the guilt,
Yeah.
and then they put guilt on you.
Right.
Yeah.
And then people are going to rebel.
I understand that part.
And then they're going to rebel without a full understanding of the consequences.
Yeah.
Because they aren't told what the consequences are.
Right. And then they find out when it's too late.
Yeah, they find out the hard way.
And that goes into the whole issue of the education system doesn't teach us how to think.
Nope.
They teach you how to fit in to the AC world.
Yeah,
society.
Yep. They teach you how to be a good citizen.
Yes.
Obey all the laws.
Well put. Yeah.
And pay your taxes, and don't complain about anything, because the government is here to protect you.
To take care of you.
And take care of you.
Yeah.
Good and they're doing a pretty poor job of both of them, as we will discuss in the section on the 12 Visions Party. Okay, any other comments or about that topic?
Very lively.
We'll move on to the next section, which I like to call "Where's the Force?" This may be repetition. I'm not absolutely certain, but I think, especially with today's weather, we can add some new perspectives on this one. The topic is roads. Bob, where's the Force?
Well, the Force is where they're telling us is a state of emergency and you're not allowed to go out on the roads. I mean, if a person has the equipment and can get out on the roads and handle himself without causing anybody else problems or causing himself problems, I don't see why it shouldn't be allowed. But the government just takes it, it's a state of emergency, you're not allowed on the road at all. And any vehicles that happen to be left on the road for whatever reason will be towed away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the consequences that they put on it. And then with that towing away, there's storage fees and fines and everything else that goes along with it. So,
and usually much higher than normal costs for those services too.
Oh yeah.
Because it's supposed to be punitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments on that, Bob?
No.
Okay. Harry, where's the Force?
Well, I don't know where there's a lot of force, but I can tell you here in New Jersey we're having a very big snowstorm
Mm-hmm.
this Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and basically for the past couple of days, the media, the news media, has created such hysteria that people are waiting online to go shopping to get last minute essentials for the snowstorm. Now I think the media enjoys doing this because what they do is the weather channels, they get more viewership and they increase their revenue. So a lot of it is about that. And you know, for me personally, I don't like to be told whether I should stay home in the snowstorm or not. I'm an adult and I have common sense, and I will like to, if I have safety equipment, then I will be out on the road if I have to. But I don't want somebody telling me if you go on the road and there's a state of emergency, then you're going to get fined or taken off the road. I mean, and you got to leave that up to people. Most people aren't stupid. They can make their own decisions without the government butting in to your business like everything else. And that's
And
pretty much it.
mm-hmm.
My attitude towards that from the time I started driving is, in the case with snow and that, is I go in the snow where I pay the tow. And fortunately, I have had very rare occasions where I've had to do anything as far as paying the tow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten into a bank of snow where I had to dig myself out, but I never really had to pay the toll because I wasn't equipped in the vehicle I was driving to be able to get around. So
Mm-hmm.
that was my attitude.
Yeah, and you came out on the good side, and there's nothing happened to you, nothing's wrong with you.
Right.
You exercise, common sense, and that's what we should have. We shouldn't have the government telling us what to do all the time. Go ahead, Bill. I know
Yeah.
you're going to comment
Yeah, I'm sorry I
on this.
phrased the question to limit it to the aspect of the weather today, because of course there's a lot of force involved with roads. One of the basic ones being that it has been decided by individuals in government that no one can create a road privately and maintain that road themselves and profit from people using that road privately. It's
Mm.
been it's been decided that roads are quote unquote a public service, and therefore the government has a monopoly, whether it's the local government or the state government or the federal government has a monopoly on providing that service, and therefore, as usual with a monopoly, the cost for that service is high, and the service provided is usually of a lower standard than you would get if a private individual was providing that service for profit.
Mm. Mm.
So we have instances. We have in New Jersey, we have a turnpike that when it was first built, it was promised that as soon as the costs to build it were completely paid for, then the roads would be part of the regular road infrastructure, and there would not be an additional cost to use the roads. In other words, they said that the tolls would end when the road was complete. Of course, they've prevented that by continuing maintaining that, oh no, it's not complete yet. We have to keep making improvements. We have to make it wider. We have to add more. We have to add an extension here and an extension there. And so today we're still paying for that road, that was started 60, 70 years ago, because they maintained that it's not complete yet. And how complete does it have to be before they fulfill their promise and start charging tolls and make it part of the the regular state road infrastructure? But no, there's profit to be had there, and as we all know, the majority of the money taken in goes to pay the administration, and goes to the costs of collecting the tolls, not maintaining the road.
And another example of that is some of the bridges, like the George Washington Bridge and Lincoln Tunnel. I'm sure those two items have paid for themselves maybe tenfold over what it costs, but
Hmm.
they're still collecting the money on it. And
I
who knows
mean, we've
what they're
seen.
doing.
I'm sorry, Bob. Finish what you were saying.
And I said, basically, who knows what they're doing with that money?
Yeah, well, we've seen
Yeah.
some examples of that. The authority that handles the bridges, I forget what it's called, the
Port
tri-state,
Authority.
yeah, port authority or whatever. We see instances of the top officials putting rare paintings in their offices and fine furniture and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, is that what what we're really paying for here? You
Mhm.
know, so these people can have fine lifestyles, or we, you know, it's to me it's corruption at its, you know, its most obvious, where
Right.
people are saying, you know, we're going to do this, we're going to create a bridge for you to get over the river, but then we're going to make you keep paying for it forever, you know.
Well,
Right.
the
So
whole the
we
whole
can,
idea. Yeah, yeah. Right. I'm sorry, Bill.
because we have a monopoly on that service, we can make you keep paying it forever and live a high lifestyle, you know, on something that, you know, yeah, yeah, you got to maintain the bridge, but you know, you can do that with a lot less money than, you know, I mean, in one way it's, but if the problem is they have a monopoly, if somebody else could build another bridge and compete with them, then I wouldn't have a problem with them charging whatever they wanted, because eventually, you know, the economic forces would force them to reduce their, you know, their prices to the cost plus a little bit of profit of maintaining the bridge. But since they have a monopoly, they can charge whatever they want,
Yeah.
and
Well, another thing
that's
that
the
enters
problem.
into this, well, the property taxes. The property taxes are supposed to be paid to the government so they can provide the services for education,
Exactly.
the roads, and then that's an illusion. A lot of that is an
Well,
illusion.
yeah,
I don't
and
know where
the
the money goes, to be honest with you, and I never knew. I have no idea to this day where the money goes. To
Well,
be honest.
I'll clue you in, Harry. This is where the money goes. Basically, your local government has made a deal with the workers union to provide people with a nice retirement and health insurance and all this stuff, a really nice benefits package. And basically every time a worker retires, it's like adding someone to the payroll, because
Mm,
they have to keep paying them and they have to hire somebody else
mm,
to do the job they were doing. So eventually you're you're paying thousands of workers who are no longer working and still paying the workers that are working. And then so that's why we get into a situation where you're paying taxes and then you're paying for the service again in a fee, you know.
And here's the other part of it. You don't own your house.
Nope.
Even if the house is free and clear and has no mortgage.
Right.
If you don't pay your property tax, that's a lien on your house.
They'll
It's
take your house.
absurd. It
They'll
really, yeah.
the
It's a
sheriff will
lien.
come and sell it to somebody else, usually for a lot less than it's worth.
Absolutely, yeah. So don't ever think that you own your real estate. You
Yeah.
don't.
Property ownership is an illusion. You lease all property, land,
Exactly.
houses, everything from the government.
Right. And a lot of people don't
They
know
own
that, Bill.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
They, including you and your body, because they have the right to take a portion of everything you produce. So you
Yep,
don't even own your life and your body.
yep,
Not in the world we live in today.
yep.
But to take it back to the roads, of course, we also have, because they have a monopoly, you know, they can charge whatever they want in the form of taxes, such as gas tax and things like that, and fees to register your and title your car, and fees for driver's license. They can charge whatever they want, and then they can provide whatever shoddy service they want in response. I mean,
Hmm.
we have roads that are falling apart. We have roads that are crumbling, and they wait years past the time when they should resurface the road, you know, and let it just fall into ruin, and which causes more wear and tear on your vehicle as you try to drive on those roads, and it costs you even more to repair the damage to your car from driving on those poorly maintained roads. I mean, this is all the force involved with roads, not to mention traffic laws that don't make sense, you know, and all of this stuff also takes responsibility away from individuals, so that they're no longer responsible. Oh, there's a law, so I just follow the law, and no matter what happens, I'm not responsible.
Yeah, like a good little soldier. Yeah.
And
Or
of course,
citizen. Yeah.
to operate on your vehicle, operate your vehicle on the roads. You have to have car insurance that that is totally prescribed by law. You can't just negotiate with your insurance company for the kind of insurance you want. You have to have everything that the law says you have to have, and therefore the costs for car insurance are high. And so everywhere around there's force, there's limitation of free exchange and free interaction, and that's where the force is on the roads.
And you didn't even bring up the police as part of that.
Yeah,
that will take a whole hour to go over.
Yeah. And we'll be kind of looking
Right.
at that in the next section anyway. So thank you both for your participation in our little game. And we'll move on to the next section, which is how we're going to create the 12 Visions world, and that is the 12 Visions party. So we'll start with a reading of the Prime Law. Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Bill. The Prime Law, the fundamental of protection. The Preamble. The purpose of human life is to prosper and live happily. The function of government is to provide that condition that lets the individuals fulfill that purpose. The Prime Law guarantees those conditions by forbidding the use of initiatory force, fraud, or coercion by any person or group against any individual, property, or contract. Article 1. No person, group of persons, or government shall initiate force, threat of force, or fraud against any individual, self, property, or contract. Article 2. Force is morally and legally justified only for protection from those who violate Article 1. Article 3. No exception shall exist for Articles 1 and 2.
Thank you, Bob.
I love that.
And we'll move on to the next section of the national platform as we continue our discussion of the national platform, and that's on page 34 and is entitled Police Protection. And just for anyone watching or listening, the easiest way to find the national platform is to go to the 12 Visions Party national website, which is tvpnc.org, and on the top at the left side of the home page, there's a link to the national platform, and you can go ahead and go there and follow along as we read this. Who would like to read this section of the
I'll read
platform? Okay, go right ahead, Harry.
All right, we're talking about in this section. We're talking about police protection, federal and state. Okay. All right, it starts off. America really has no police protection. America has police follow-up. For the most part, a crime must occur first before the police will act or follow up. In other words, no crime prevention exists in America. Many reasons cause this real lack of protection, from obstacles created by political correctness. Example, by rule of politically motivated vote-gathering man, to lack of budget. Hamilton, America, by history's best police protection. Hamilton Americans enjoy crime prevention. The Prime Law, which applies at the local, state, and federal levels, establishes the one purpose of government is to guarantee protection against initiatory force or threat of force. With 100% focus and budget on protection from initiatory force of threat of force, the police work to prevent crime, not merely follow up. No political correctness obstacles exist in Hamilton, America. No entitlements compete for the budget. The entire budget and mindset is to eradicate crime. Never existed before Hamilton, America. In this new country of wealth, health, and safety, women and children can walk the street and be completely safe. Businesses and journalists are locksmiths. That's cute.
I'm going to go ahead and read the last couple sentences for you, Harry, because you broke up. And that
Okay.
was from no entitlements compete for the budget. The entire budget and mindset is to eradicate crime. Such a police force has never existed before Hamilton, America. In this new country of wealth, health, and safety, women and children can walk home on a city street and be completely safe. Here, the only businesses in jeopardy of going out of business are locksmiths. And thank you for reading that, Harry, even though we had some technical problems with it. So basically here, I would go a step further and say not only are police only doing follow-up, that their purpose, their real purpose, not their stated purpose, but their real purpose is not protection of individuals, but enforcement of the law. And it's just the government says this must be, then the police must make it so. So instead of being out there protecting us, instead of pulling somebody over and saying your driving is going to cause you to get in an accident and get harmed, their primary purpose is, oh, there's somebody who's driving erratically, let's pull them over and give them a ticket so they can pay a fine. And this is shown in things like checkpoints, and also in where they look for people who don't have their paperwork with them. Show us your license and registration, and if you don't happen to have it with you that day, guess what? You get a big fine, And this is and I don't understand what having your license and registration with you in your car has to do with being safe on the road anyway. I've never understood that.
Nothing at all.
But, and unfortunately today we have a problem with police going overboard as far as, it's become a mindset with police because of a few incidents, maybe a few more incidents recently, but still only a few incidents. It's become the mindset that first the policeman must protect himself, to the point of, if I even suspect that you might be doing something, I'm going to shoot you.
Yeah.
I've seen instances, and also these are isolated but also increasing, unfortunately, lately.
Racial profiling, Bill. That's what's really going on. Racial profiling.
I saw a video of a drunk driver, and the police was following him, and the guy wrecked his car, and the car ended up on its side, and the policeman gets out to go to the car, and the drunk driver stands up out of the sideways car, and the police just pulls his gun and shoots him. He was nowhere near the guy.
Wow.
And I forget, I think he just severely injured him, and the guy's paralyzed or something. But, the guy just pulled his gun and shot him. He's like, oh, what the heck? I'm going to shoot him just to make sure he doesn't pull a gun and shoot me first.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that a lot of criminals are armed, and, but couldn't that person have taken a few seconds longer and really assess the situation, and not assume that deadly force was necessary? And that's just an example. I'm not saying that's every policeman has that mentality. A majority of them don't.
But it's happening more and more. Even though it's isolated. There are more isolated incidents occurring.
And that's where we are, unfortunately. We have police who are on the offensive, basically.
Yeah.
They're not defending individuals, they're enforcing the law, and they're on the offensive to do that.
Yep.
And therefore, and also they're defending themselves more than they're defending individuals.
Mm-hmm.
By assuming that you're an armed criminal that's going to hurt them, and acting on that, or giving some policemen that may have these ill-conceived ideas of race and, you know, all that free reign to express their ideas violently, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, all of this is, you know, this is not the kind of thing we will see in the 12 Visions world. You know, we will have police who basically, I mean, it used to be you'd have your before we had cars and radios and all this, you had your cop on the beat, and he'd have a neighborhood, and he'd walk around that neighborhood and look in store windows and, you know, and make sure somebody wasn't robbing the store, and he'd know all the people in the neighborhood,
Right.
you know, personally.
Right.
So he would know when there was a stranger there and all this, and we don't have that anymore, except maybe in a town that has a few hundred people, maybe. But most of the time, police don't know anybody or very few people where they work.
Yep.
So they don't know who's a stranger or who's somebody who's being suspicious. So they assume everybody is suspicious.
Yeah, they don't bother to interact with the community. Get to know everybody in the community, like in the olden days. Yeah,
Mhm.
You're right. You're right. Yep. Good point.
Yep.
Good point. What about police? What about unmarked cars? Does that enter into this conversation or no?
I believe so, because that's part of the enforcement of the law rather than protection of the individual.
Yeah.
Because they're sneaking around undercover to catch people violating some traffic law or something, so
Yep.
they can catch them and give them a ticket, so they have to pay a fine.
Yeah.
Rather
How
than,
about having a cop following you for about 3-4 minutes? You see them, and then all of a sudden they put their lights on and pull you over. It creates
they're
nervousness. Yeah.
yeah, and they're waiting for you to do something wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. And sometimes they just veer off and take off.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're still aware that they're there, and it's creating a lot of stress.
Yeah, you're concerned
driving.
that the next thing that's going to happen is you're going to get pulled over and
What? Yeah.
and they're going to tell you to get out and get on the ground, and they're going to come up and tase you if they don't decide to shoot you, you know.
Yeah, that creates hysteria. That's for sure. Yep.
And then they just, you know, and we have, again, these are small in number, but they stand out glaringly by what happens. There was that gentleman in New York who was selling black market cigarettes, you know, tax-free cigarettes. So he was violating a law, a rule, and he resisted arrest. So what they did was they got enough people on top of him to immobilize him, and also basically the guy died from suffocation because he had so many people on top of him.
Holy mackerel.
For selling, you know, bootleg cigarettes.
Yeah.
He wasn't killing anybody. He was preventing the government from collecting tax revenues. Yes.
Yep.
But is that a reason to kill him? You know, even inadvertently? These are things I don't understand about the way police work is done in the world today.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's why I personally think they're there to enforce the laws rather than protect people.
I agree.
Even in the automobile stops, when they stop you and they want your registration and driver's license, I mean, they don't really need that because they got sitting right in the center of their car a computer. They just click a couple of buttons and they got your whole history, driving history and everything else right there on the computer.
Yeah, it's just a revenue generator.
Right.
I mean, they can tell in today's technological society, they can tell whether your driver's license is expired. As long as you give them correct information, tell them honestly who you are. They can tell if your driver's license is expired. They can tell if those license plates belong with that car. You know.
Yeah. And they know that before they even pull you over because they bring it up on the computer. They punch in your license plate.
And they know already, yeah, exactly. They know already whether or not those plates belong with that car, whether or not that registration is expired, you know.
Whether your license is expired, they know, they know that already.
Yep. But we have a law in the books that says you must have your driver's license and registration and insurance with you, verification of insurance with you at all times, and if you don't, you get a fine. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they have that. You know, but you know, and it to me, all of this is basically we're still taking individual responsibility away from individuals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rather than having each individual responsible for his own actions, we say, oh, this person did something wrong. Like this person was riding his motorcycle without a helmet and got a serious head injury. So therefore, we're going to prevent all people from riding a motorcycle with their helmet off. You know, and I agree that there's a safety idea there, but you don't do it by forcing people. You educate them.
Exactly.
And then in the end, they're responsible for their own actions. But there are some people that say, no, we got to force people to do what's right.
Yep.
Then how do you know it's right if you got to force people to do it?
Exactly.
I mean, if it's right and everyone understands that it's right, they're going to do it.
That's right. It's common sense.
Yeah.
Right? Get back to what I said earlier.
Yeah. But,
common sense.
You know, now people are brought up to blindly follow the government and the law, whether it's right or wrong. And it's even worse with religion. Because, you know, because then you got an invisible being that's going to, you know, to punish you forever if you don't do exactly what this guy who's representing that being tells you to do.
Yep.
That's religion in a nutshell. I mean, you never actually see God, but you see this guy claiming to speak for God. That's religion.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to briefly go over what people can do to help create the 12 Visions world, because we went a little over that, which is no problem, because that was good discussion. Basically, you can just get involved. Find out who's organizing the 12 Visions movement in your state, and get involved either by becoming involved in the planning, becoming an officer, or by volunteering to help out when you know, events happen in activities, you know, when they do things, or provide financial support if you choose to. And those are all ways you can help, and obviously you can also help by talking to people about the ideas of the 12 Visions world, and about how that can be accomplished through the 12 Visions movement. And you can also become involved in the Neothink Society and learn about the ideas behind the 12 Vision movement. There are many ways to do that. The simplest way to get involved with the 12 Visions Party is to go to the National 12 Visions Party website and look for contact information for the 12 Visions Party in your state. Or if there is no 12 Visions Party in your state, find out there how you can go about organizing the 12 Visions Party in your state.
What's the website, Bill? TVP.
The website, it's tvpnc.org. Thank you, Harry. Okay, and that's basically it. The main thing you can do is talk to people about it and explain to them why you think that the 12 Visions world is a wonderful world that you would want to live in. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up now. I want to first of all thank you, Harry, for coming on the show and for your discussion and ideas.
It was always stimulating, and I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on.
And I also want to thank you, Bob, for your participation in the show. I greatly appreciate it.
And thank you, Bill. It's my pleasure.
Okay, and I want to thank anyone who watches or listens to this show. I greatly appreciate it. This is why we're doing it, for you, and you're the only reason we're doing this. If you have any questions, please send them to cnwshow@gmail.com. You can see previous episodes at www.tocreateanewworld.blogspot.com. You can like us on Facebook. Just look for CNW Show. You can also join our Google Plus community. Also look for CNW Show on Google Plus. And you can support the show by telling your family and friends about it. And also support the show by going to www.patreon.com/creatinganewworld and pledging $1 or more an episode. All opinions expressed on the show are the sole responsibility of the individual participants and do not represent the Neothink Society, the 12 Visions Party, or author Mark Hamilton. Creating a New World is a production of Integrated Values, LLC. I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom.
Bye.